Welcome to Contributor Wednesday on Bridge the Gap Network. In this series, you'll hear from thought leaders on a variety of topics dedicated to inform, educate, and influence the senior living industry.
Hey, welcome to Bridge the Gap Contributor Wednesday. We are doing a takeover, Josh and Lucas Contributor Wednesday, to rehash where we are and where we're going with Contributor Wednesday. Josh, what are we doing, man?
Well, we are just having a little fun, man. This is out of our routine. You know, it's out of our Monday show norm, and it's always fun to just be able to talk with you. Normally we have a guest on, that we get to learn from, interview, and just kind of have a conversation with. So I'm excited to talk about Contributor Wednesday. This is a new thing for me and you this year, and we have had already great experience and love adding a lot of new listeners and more downloads, and our contributors are doing an amazing job.
Yeah, we've got James Lee, we've got Meredith Mills, Charles Turner, and Tracy Bild on the program. I mean, these are major influences in our space. And now that we've run through a couple of cycles of this, I would say that my expectations have been exceeded. I've been surprised by the content that these thought leaders have put out. I mean, I had high expectations, but they have really exceeded them.
Yeah, the same here. And I think it was probably difficult for us to be surprised, because the whole reason that, we went through the selection process and landed on these four individuals is because they were already putting out such great content that we were consuming on their personal channels. And so glad that they made the commitment. It is a huge commitment. It's a lot of commitment of time and energy that they're investing back into others by taking time to record this content and get that to us so that our listeners can enjoy it every Wednesday.
Yeah, if we rewind just a little bit, this is one of the goals you, me, and Sarah had talked about as we were ending last year, saying, look, we really would like to have more content and more people on the platform. Josh and Lucas can only go so far. There's still so many more stories to tell. There's still so much content to produce. There's still a lot of thought leadership that could get covered. And, candidly, it's COVID-19 that really gave us the time that was necessary to help, number one, pivot our show into a virtual setting. And then number two, gave us time to kind of step back and say, look, now is the time for us to do this. Let's put this together. Let's continue forward. And let's get this content out there. And so we were able to pivot. Now we've got remote studios until the conferences start back up. And we're not going to really ever just abandon the remote studios. This has allowed us to interview a lot of people that we normally wouldn't interview. So it's going to be a great future for Bridge the Gap in a couple of senses. Number one, diversified content, extra content, more content, stuff from conferences once they get back up, and then stuff virtually like this, where we can bring on literally anybody that we want to. And then added content in the Contributor Wednesday pilot program that will run through the end of this year. And then once that finishes and completes, those people on the Contributor Wednesday platform, those four thought leaders, will either spin off and let another person on, or they're going to spin off onto their own channel, their own program, their weekly show. And we're looking for our audience to give us that feedback to say, yes, we would like to hear these thought leaders on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and I remember, Lucas, at the beginning of this season, we kicked off the year in a hot air balloon, and we talked. We were somewhere like in California or somewhere, and we talked about this season being all about the listener. And we had heard, we like these topics and more in this, and it was so difficult for me and you to think, oh my gosh, there's only so much content that me and you can put out. And these listeners are not only adding so much more content, but each of them are really taking deep dives on very specific topics that our industry is needing information on. And I can't wait to see, as we're already seeing it happen in front of us, where their shows are going to grow to, and the next round of contributors that are going to be added. And so it's exciting as we start thinking, from our Monday show, the Josh and Lucas traditional show, to now our Wednesday shows and that growing, to now even potentially other days of the week that we're going to be adding shows. It's very exciting. And our vision, when we talk about kind of our three pillars or our three buckets on informing, educating, and influencing, it's going to be exciting. And I could easily see over the next 6 months to a year that almost any day of the week that someone wanted to download a fresh episode and get content in a very convenient way, no matter where they are, they could find in pretty much any topic that they want to find right here on Bridge the Gap.
Exactly. Good points. I mean, the Bridge the Gap network, we want it to be a kind of a ground zero, a think tank of thought leadership for a wide variety of topics. There are so many things that influence this industry. There's the business side, there's the operations side, there's the healthcare side, there's the regulatory side. You could go on and on and on. And we are proud to be able to talk about those topics from people all the way from the C-suite on down to the community level and everything in between. And so for our listeners out there, we want to continue down this path of bringing you diversified content and in the future, nearly every day. Now, our everyday cadence is on social media. That's another way that people are really consuming our content, is because we post 365 days a year. There is fresh content, fresh digital content about the senior living industry put on all 5 of our channels. And you can access basically all of those things from btgvoice.com. Go there and you can get all of our shows, all of our videos, all of our links.
Not only on social media, but there's actually every episode being transcribed. So if there's something that you heard, I know particularly some of the contributors that I've been listening to on sales or, organizational leadership, on workforce, on technology, some of these, our contributors do an excellent job at breaking down complex issues into 1 to 3 point kind of takeaways. And to use that word I love to use, they're just golden nuggets, right? And so if it's easier, we actually have those episodes transcribed. You can actually print those right off, and you can highlight some things to take those to your teams if you're in communities or if you're in sales, and use those takeaways. That's what they want you to do. That's why they are sharing this information with you. So in addition, as you were saying, Lucas, to the great quotes, the great graphics, and all of those things that are accessible 365 days a year, every single one of these episodes is transcribed.
It makes our job easy, right? These guys, these thought leaders on the Contributor Wednesday, they are really taking a lot of time. I don't know, for many of our listeners out there that may consume a lot of podcasts, Josh and I are doing an interview-based show most times. And for me, to be able to facilitate a conversation, I'm generally just getting a front row seat to, great content. On the Contributor Wednesdays, they're giving a solo podcast. It's just them, just their voice on a particular topic. It's not easy to do, and they are putting a lot of work and effort into it. So those transcriptions that are on each one of our shows on our btgvoice.com is really good. You want to make sure, check out Charles Turner. If you said, did he just say granny shot? Well, go to btgvoice.com and download the transcription to double check. Is that what he really said?
Well, speaking of Charles Turner, it's hilarious. People have asked me, how many podcasts do I consume? And it's funny because I say, actually, I consume a few podcasts, but I never listen back to our episodes because I hate to hear myself talk. But I do listen to our Contributor Wednesday shows. And Charles Turner, on the first couple of episodes that he's had, has just totally cracked me up because he has this way of drawing you in with some of the most random stories and somehow tying that to his point. And yes, he does poke fun of me often when he talks. And so I have to be listening for that just to hear what he's going to say.
There's an ongoing love-hate with Charles Turner and BTG.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and same thing, with each of these, they're all so different to listen to. So you can literally get all the information you need about different topics, but from different personalities. So, it's such a variety and it's cool. We've got a few people that have told us that they're binge listeners too. And they like to catch up on Saturdays from all the different weeks. So we're glad now to even give them more stuff to binge out on.
Totally. And these 4 contributors, it really is a different vibe, a different topic on each single one of them. You've got Charles doing a very kind of storytelling narrative that really draws you in and takes you on a journey through some of his content from innovation standpoint. And James Lee, you can definitely tell he just graduated with his MBA. And he has a way of kind of what I've heard a pastor say, taking the hay down from the top of the barn and bringing it down so we can understand it, right? So he's taking complex topics about leadership and development and packaging it in a way that is educational and really easy to understand. And then you got Tracy Build. Is she ever not at 100 miles an hour? I mean, it's just... No. From the moment she starts, it is go, 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 pedal to the metal. And for 30, sometimes maybe even 40 minutes, it is straight fire on sales and marketing. And then Meredith Mills, she's taking complex policy issues, current events that are taking place right now in healthcare and how it impacts senior living. It's really amazing.
It is. And I'll tell you one thing that's really cool about each one of our listeners, who are all very different in personality and where they come from, their backgrounds, but they're all serving our industry. And what I really, really like, these are not just people that are keynotes, which several of them have keynoted and often keynote, and our audience knows them from that. They're very popular in our industry, but they're also, what I like to say, very in tune. They're not disconnected. They're actually in the trenches every day. Classic example, Meredith Mills. Every time I've ever talked to her, she's in a community, right? She's not in the corporate office, even though she's a corporate exec. She is very connected with what is happening in real time. So the issues and the topics that she is talking about, even at a high level, have so much relevancy even at the community level, because that's where she is in those operations and applying the things and the principles that she's talking about on a daily basis. And the same thing for each one of our contributors. So from a relevancy, a lot of times you go and hear motivational content and things like that, and there sometimes seems like a little bit of disconnect, like, gosh, how can I actually make that a reality? What is one small piece of that? And almost everything that they're talking about is their reality that they're living each day. So to have that leadership level and that vision that's also very practical is, I think, what makes this very, very unique.
Totally. And so BTG is continuing to grow, continuing to move forward. We are always creatively thinking about new and exciting ways to engage. And, the COVID-19 pandemic has really forced us to think differently about how our program is run and how we connect with our audience, how we connect with our listeners, how we connect with our partners. And so for anybody listening right now, this is a big passion project that for Josh and Sarah and I, and, we couldn't put out the amount of content that we do without the people that partner with our program. And so we're even thinking of new and diverse ways for people to be able to help support BTG. And so that's going to be coming out, and it's going to involve, more for our listeners. Every time somebody helps support the program, all we do is pour all of that support back into more content, and it's exciting.
Well, and yeah, you talk about humble beginnings. It wasn't that long ago, Lucas, me and you were standing in a conference floor, which is kind of hard to think about. It seems so long since we've been at a conference, but just a little over 2 years ago, when we had this crazy idea, we just launched, and it wasn't about partners, sponsors, or anything. It was just like, how do we figure out how to take this great content out to the masses? And thankfully, so many people have come on board throughout the last several years to grow this platform and to enable us to actually grow our team and grow our ability to produce more content. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. That little teaser you gave of some exciting new opportunities for new partners to be able to join us over the upcoming year. It's going to be super exciting, and I can't wait to see, because every year we have grown, and it's because of our partners. So I can't wait to see the creative partnerships that are formed and what is produced from those partnerships, and what that means to us and our listeners is going to be really, really exciting.
There's a lot of love stories that need to be told. And in today's world that we're living in with the pandemic and so many different things, it's more important than ever for senior living to create the narrative, not react to somebody else's narrative about us. And so BTG Voice is a platform, is a voice of the industry that can speak to all of the different aspects of the industry and can really help change the narrative from public perception to the way that culture is driven in the industry, and tackle a lot of big challenges. So it's a huge responsibility, and it's really exciting. And the great thing is, Josh, is that we don't do it alone. We do it with a lot of other people that can help. And for our listeners, the best way to connect with us, btgvoice.com. You can shoot us a message there, or DM us on our social media pages. Josh, we get messages. You get them personally. I get them personally. They come in through the website. They come in through our social channels. Don't be shy. Reach out to us. And we are really appreciative of all the messages that we get on a weekly basis. We love engaging with everybody that's in our audience.
Yeah, and to that point, over the last year or so, we have created a space on our website, btgvoice.com. If you have an idea for a show or a guest, we love for you to provide that to us, and we can go through and have some time with them and figure out about that, as well as many of these love stories, as you mentioned, Lucas, that happen every single day in the communities, at the regional level, at the corporate level, and just cool things taking place. Many of our listeners maybe don't have the means or what have you to understand how to navigate and tell that story more than at a local level, and really want that to be told at a regional or a national level. We've already got that platform. So if there's something really cool happening in your community, please let us know. We have an awesome production team behind the scenes, and it's really easy for us to share your awesome story on a much larger platform and tell about the amazing things that you and your team are doing. So be sure and reach out to us, as Lucas said, on all of our socials. We've got Instagram, we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, there's YouTube, there's LinkedIn, and then you can always email us, and you can visit us on our website at btgvoice.com.
You got it, buddy. Hey, looking good without the beard, man.
Thanks, man. I was just trying to make myself look a little bit younger. Unfortunately, I did scare my daughter, who hasn't seen my face very often. So we're going to let that grow back real quickly.
Well, you should have learned from me. I made that mistake several months ago, and it was rather scary to see myself without a beard. And so I grew it back as quickly as possible.
Well, we got to mix it up every now and then, see what's underneath there, see how we're looking. So I got all the peak I needed to, and I know you did as well. So it's coming back soon.
Well, awesome. Thanks everybody for all the support on Bridge the Gap. Thanks to all of our listeners, and we hope everybody has a great week. We're better together, and we're rooting for you. Thanks for listening to Bridge the Gap.
Thanks for listening to Contributor Wednesday series on Bridge the Gap Network. For more information about the contributors and for a full library of episodes, visit btgvoice.com.